that part to us has always been extremely important, right? To me personally, it's the most important because we want this thing to live on. We want this, the legacy of what breaking is going to go so far beyond it. And if we have to be able to tell the story, and we have to be able to tell the story correctly.
And well, let's dive into it, because so one of the evolutions of just having your class has become your league. And I gotta say, man, I'm mad at you guys. I'm mad at all these leagues that popped up, because, like we were talking about off camera, in '06 I started a league, right? But back then the mentality of the scene at large was way different. So it wasn't really. I was fighting an uphill battle. Mm-hmm. I figured, like, you know, I would tell somebody about leagues, and I'd have to hear about how it's not a sport and how it's, you know, all these different, you know, ingrained cultural rules that come, these unwritten rules that come with breaking. And I'm like, damn, now, you know, we got the Olympics, we got all these like thriving leagues, and so many people are on that wavelength now that I'm just like, I knew it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Ahead of your time, bro. You're ahead of it. You're ahead of the game, man.
You know? So what was the catalyst, or the, you know, the beginnings of that transition where you started to think like, yo, I think that people competing consistently, you know, with a schedule, will keep records. I don't know if you do stats or not, but we'll do like a playoff and then have a championship, da da da. Like, what spawned that thought process?
Well, so when I moved down to Indianapolis, at first I still had the studio up in Grand Rapids. So initially the thought process was, man, it will be amazing to be able to have Grand Rapids versus Indianapolis battles, right?
Yeah.
House rivalries, right? First battle, right? I brought my kids from Grand Rapids down so they could smoke my kids from Indianapolis. You know, like, you gotta learn, right? So
right.
And we're behind the scenes. We get to kind of pull those strings a little bit. The kids don't really know the lessons that they're being taught until later, but like that kind of spawned the whole thing. But that was a while ago. The way it really started to create a league was a meeting that we had between Midwest organizers and promoters. We had a Zoom meeting that was between myself, Mav1 from Motor City Street Dance Academy in Detroit, and he's the one who runs 616 up in Grand Rapids now that I'm down here in Indy. Eclipse from Heroes Rise in Cincinnati.
It's been such a long road, but through patience and a strong partnership, we are creating a new space. A space to train, learn, share, and grow. A space for street dance by street dancers. The Heroes Rise Street Dance Academy, and I can't wait for you to join us.
Osuga he runs the studio in Columbus, Ohio. And I want to say it was just us 5 on the first call, but we were just talking about ideas of how to continue to promote with each other, because we all have youth academies. And we just were talking about, wouldn't it be dope if we have all these little competitions that we could be within a time frame, and then we can just pull them directly from our competitions to have like a championship, you know? And I know there are other leagues that have already been doing that too. But the big thing that was interesting that I wanted to figure out was, because I knew I had the numbers. So this is during COVID, right? So this is this year, or last year we were discussing all this. And I had even at that time, I still had a high student body count. I had like 80 or 90 kids, even during most of COVID.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm one of the really lucky few businesses, man, that were able to continue to like thrive and actually like expand and grow during this whole time. But it was, for me, I wanted to see what we could do within house, right? I wanted to test that first for our kids, because I knew we had a bigger number than what these other studios had at that time. And so for me, I was like, I'm going to go ahead and see how we can test this in-house and see what it's like just in my own spot first. And then let's see if this can create kind of like an infrastructure to create that path for something bigger, right? Knowing the Olympics are on the horizon, knowing that leagues and things like this, knowing that the separation between sports and like dance are going to be making its like split here soon. You know, what are the ways that we can still serve the youth to feel comfortable, confident, and to getting into whatever path it is that they want to do, right? Because again, at the end of the day, for me, it's about like getting them paid, making this as easy as we can for them. If they want to dance full time, well, you know what? You can go these routes that's a little bit more traditional, or there's this entirely new route that's forming right now, and you could have this one too. You know, like to me, that's the most important thing, because for us, it was not like that. It's either you got to do it like this, or you got to do it like that, or you mix both. It's not going to be great. You know what I mean? Like I was feel like I was told that a lot of times. So like for me, it's like, no, you can go this way, or you can go this way. So I feel like creating that type of infrastructure that's moving along with the times of what the Olympics are doing as this new avenue is being created. You know, like I feel like that was the real driving force behind it, is because we want to see how can we continue to funnel these in if it's going to continue to happen. You know, how can we make sure it's represented correct? How can we get it all the way down to the fact where it's for 6-year-olds can have aspirations to make it to this high level, you know, to make it to the point where I want to be paid. I want to be living like a real dancer that's at that level. Whatever they imagine that to look like is achievable. You know what I mean? Like I want that for the kids, you know? And so I feel like creating the league was just one way to help feed into that.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that I see that a lot of you guys that are currently doing the leagues, like for instance, I know Glide has a league, I think in New York. Mm-hmm. And Glide was actually one of the state champions in my league and came down to Arizona. So, I mean, I'm not saying anything like with that connection, but he saw leagues and he probably went back and was like, oh, okay. And then we have a couple leagues in the city, like where I'm at, that are also like youth related, more youth leagues. And I'm just wondering, was that just the easier path, like to navigate doing the youth leagues versus doing like trying to build one with the adults?
I think so, because again, we knew we had so many dancers right here in the studio that if I'm going to throw a jam, I don't have to think about how many students are going to be there, right? Or like how many
all going to be there.
Like I know how many I'm going to have, you know, because we have that many right here. So I think that was a big part of it. And again, it's knowing your scene, right? Like Indianapolis, the break scene isn't gigantic. The scene is actually pretty small. We're cultivating it right now, like in-house kind of, you know, but the street dance community itself is really big. So we'll throw a lot of all-style battles and things like that here, like through the studio. But for breaking jams, it's just, it's kind of easier to know that I'm going to get a bunch of breakers guaranteed there, you know, and it serves its second purpose of helping expose a lot of parents to what it feels like to be at a jam, why we love what we do, why we love going to these things, the energy there. You have to be there to feel it. And when you're teaching this to the youth and the young kids, you get a lot of parents that have never, ever felt it, have no idea what we're talking about. So like for them to actually be there, that's key, because we make our kids' battles as close and as possible to feel like a real jam. You know, like the music is bumping, the DJs are live, the judges are real. You can call out the judges. Like, you know, we encourage all of these things ahead of time, because again, it's just, we want them to learn it at the young age, because there's so many lessons to be learned through that they can get and they can understand when they're 9, 10, 11 years old, you know. And some of these things are like, if I had learned them when I was that young, like the places you would be or the things that you would know, you know. So it's those opportunities I feel like are really important. So we bring that right here because it's already in house. I'm interested in knowing more about if it's only in the USA that they're deciding to not put it in, whereas like
Right.
if we're looking towards 20
32.
right?
Yeah,
if
32.
it would
Yep.
be back in or not.
Okay.
To know whether it's like a one-off or if it's just the country, or what it takes, if they can even wait this long before it becomes a sport, if the organization itself is waiting to see how it goes.
For more quality content from Beyond the Cypher with Illskillz, don't forget to press the like and subscribe buttons. Also, feel free to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Beyond the Cypher. Let us know how we're doing in the comment section. And to make sure you don't miss anything from the channel, smash that notification bell. We appreciate the love and support. Peace. Until the next episode.